which will address current issues and challenges that we face. Each has been assigned a task for this panel presentation, and I will introduce them to you. First of all, our spiritual advisor and ex officio, Bishop William McGrattan. Barbara Dowding, who is the past national president and chairperson of laws, will share the background, the why strategic planning was undertaken, the passion behind bringing this forward. Myself, as current president, I will provide an update of the projects that we have undertaken up to this point, or up till this convention started. Roxanne McDonald, who is a past president from Vancouver Diocese, will present a summary of the Envision Future, which was facilitated by Donna Dunn for our national executive and the committee that's planning strategically. You see, we started this convention we arrived Tuesday, so we've been working for a week before you got here. So we had workshops with Donna prior to this, so you can imagine how enthused we were. Following Roxanne will be Kim Scammell, who is the executive director, and Ingrid Lafort, who is the past provincial president from Quebec, and they will present the findings of our live feed cross-Canada town hall yesterday. So you just wait to see how wonderful that'll unfold. Pauline Krupa, who is the past provincial president from Ontario, and Danielle McNeil Hession, who is an honorary life member from Nova Scotia, will share what attracted them to the League and compelled them to stay, their testimony, so to speak. Ann Gorman, who's the future. She will conclude with the next steps, our plans for the future. Where are we going when we leave here? Hopefully there will be time for questions at the end of the presentation. I think what you need to know is that we will receive your questions with open ears and hearts. But I think it would be premature for any of us to say what those answers are going to be definitively, because we're still in formation, taking all of that came in to address that. So all of your queries, your responses, your opinions, your questions, if time depending, we will make sure that they are considered and addressed, but maybe not today. All right? First of all, I call on Bishop McGrattan just to lead us in a prayer to bring us back to this place.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Inspired by the Spirit, we come together to deliberate the future of the Catholic Women's League. Allow our hearts to be inflamed with that great sense of joy for the gospel. May we have the courage always to evangelize and to recognize each sister as one who is called by God and is gifted. We ask your blessing and the outpouring of the Holy Spirit as we hear these deliberations and we plan for the future. And we make this prayer through Christ our Lord.
Strategic planning, or planning strategically. Why now? The most obvious and telling signs of the times come in the form of statistics. Did you see a few statistics yesterday? Just a few. Steady and predictable declining membership and lack of willing leaders is our reality. In too many cases, parish councils struggle to get new members, to elect a full slate of officers, or even find a president. There was little or no connection between parish council members and the other levels of the League. Members complain because meetings are tedious at worst or boring. New members come once or twice, never to be seen again. Other new members want action or social justice and prefer to leave funeral receptions to those who love doing that. The decline did not happen overnight. We have been managing it as best we could. We have developed various programs and initiatives, but leadership is still a problem and our membership continues to shrink. Add to this the fast-paced age of technology, competition for women's time, which is so precious, and new ways of practicing the faith. We are not alone. Nonprofit groups like ours across the country are vying for relevance, members, and engagement. I have seen, though, with my own eyes, the very best the League has to offer. It is phenomenal how this organization, we fondly call the League, continues to thrive in spite of the obstacles. To be part of something so important and relevant is the gift we give and have received. As members, we serve in many ways, some obvious, some hidden, some in the limelight, others doing work in small groups with much love and passion. Even members who are unable to do hardly anything cherish their membership and the sense of belonging. The sense of sisterhood, support, and love is evident throughout. We are proud of the League and want to share the fruits so other women can discover their potential and experience fulfillment as Catholic women in the world today. I am convinced we are on the right path to at the very least, investigate the possibilities as we approach 100 years. We have so much to celebrate, so much to hang on to and cherish. Throughout our history, we have adapted many times to the signs of the time, and I believe we're being called to do so again. Over time, the structure has changed. We have revised the objects, renewed our mission statement as dictated by what was going on at the time. Our theme challenges us to go deeper and to embrace our role. Inspired by the Spirit, women respond to God's call will lead us to new heights, new perspectives, and possibly new beginnings. We have but to heed the voice of the Holy Spirit. Therein lies the challenge, as we will attempt to discern with open minds and open hearts what it is we are being called to do. What inspires me and gives me hope is the deep desire to persevere, the strong desire to keep the League alive, the sincere desire to make sure the League remains a force for good in our country and in our own parishes, the passionate desire to be a voice for the voiceless and a heart for those who need mercy. As we look to the future, let each of us be, as Pope Francis says, one of those great persons who will appreciate the dignity of everyone and strive for the unity and good of all. My dream for the League is that, like the early church, where the disciples took care of one another daily and daily added to their numbers, that we Catholic women will look outward with the good news of the gospel and draw others into Christ. That in doing so, we will help women unlock their gifts, appreciate their feminine influence, and become leaders where they live and work. That all women will have the opportunity to grow in faith like so many of us have and ensure the League remains strong, that it remains a beacon of integrity that it is so well known for. Let us go forward with courage, zeal, and trust in the Holy Spirit and see where we are being asked to go. And if I may, Madam President, could we say the League prayer again?
We humbly
Pray, O God, our Father, to bless the Catholic Women's League of Canada. Bless our beloved country, our homes and families. Send your Holy Spirit upon us to give light to our minds and strength to our wills, that we may know and fulfill your great law of charity. Teach us to share with others at home and abroad the good things you have given us. This we ask through our Lord Jesus Christ and the intercession of our patroness, Our Lady of Good Counsel. Amen. And there you have it.
She planted the seed. Hopefully she'll see the flower. My task is to outline the progress to date. So as a result of the roundtable discussion that took place in the fall of 2016 at an executive meeting, it was decided that the following things would unfold. That there needed to be a plan to move forward, but only with the unanimous commitment of the executive. That previous resources, so the documents that Mr. Bibby was referring to yesterday, Woman to Woman, Witnessing to the Future, and Social Marketing and Framework, that was the 2007 document, they would be accessed and reevaluated. There are good things in those documents. That statistics needed to be updated concerning Catholic women today. That the committee would include League members and a professional consultant to oversee the strategic planning process. That the president's three, past, present, and future, would form the initial committee and remain active on the committee until the strategic plan was adopted. We're here until it's done. That the committee would report back to the winter executive meeting and bring recommendations for further action. An introductory teleconference call established that one training session would be provided for the administrative committee and one for the full executive. That Reginald Bibby, co-author of Canada's Catholics, would make a presentation at the annual convention, and that a cross-country town hall session with live feed would be held at the convention. That was scary. Several resource books were provided by Kim Scammell for the President's Three, with a strategic planning workbook for nonprofit organizations, providing excellent worksheets to guiding the process. We didn't know we had a gem. Kim Scammell's extremely experienced in strategic planning, a gift she never had to share with us because it wasn't something that the Catholic Women's League has ever done before. We worked through the pre-planning stages individually, with Kim collating and synopsizing our ideas. At the winter executive meeting, a full report of activity was presented, including the benefits and concerns that we had identified, with a tentative outline of the planning effort and the terms of reference for the steering committee. Several foundational decisions were approved at that time. That the strategic plan must address all levels of the league, that it should be for at least 5 years, that the steering committee would engage national, provincial, diocesan, and parish leaders in the consultation process, that the steering committee would manage the planning effort along with the executive director and a consultant in the field of strategy planning, and expand to include other members who would each be tasked with different components of the process, with the subcommittee's assistance. The final approval of the strategy plan will be sought at the executive pre-convention meeting in August 2018. Since approval to officially begin the process, so we received the official approval of the executive, your team, to move forward, these are the following steps that have taken place since that time. Tecker International was hired as a consulting firm to guide our deliberations. That was Donna Dunn. 4 members were added to the Strategic Planning Committee: Danielle McNeil-Hession, Roxanne McDonald, Pauline Krupa, and Ingrid Lafort. All literature studied to date was forwarded to them. A strategic planning design session was held May 13th, facilitated by Donna Dunn, who was a senior consultant with Tucker, with members of the Strategic Planning Committee and the Administrative Committee in attendance. The purpose of the meeting was to identify environmental opportunities and challenges, establish desired outcomes for the planning process, clarify the strategic planning process and the measures of success, and establish next steps. Subcommittee tasks were assigned. Kim circulated a comprehensive review of the background material, worksheet 3, the history and the present situation, worksheet 4 on the core competencies were completed, and after each submission, Kim collated and synthesized the responses and set the goals for the next steps to be taken. Currently being considered is worksheet 5, focusing on our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the SWOT, so to speak. Certainly, your feedback in that process, what happened yesterday, that is going to be most beneficial. Along with the annual reports, you have no idea the depth of the information that we received from them. 2 more teleconference calls were held to update the committee. Barb attended a seminar in Vancouver entitled Associations 215, High Performance Associations of Tomorrow. And Kim attended a session Turning Strategy into Action in May, with another to follow in August, for senior leaders in nonprofits, and acquired a number of assessment tools which will assist with the development strategy once the committee enters the next phase following this convention. So that's where we got to until we arrived in Charlottetown. And now Roxanne, past president of Vancouver Diocese, will present the summary of the Envision Future, the workshop that we had the other day. And if you were anywhere in the hotel, you probably heard a buzz And that was from our workshop. Roxanne.
Thank you, Madam President. Consultant Donna Dunn led the National Executive and the Strategic Planning Team, or the committee that's planning strategically, however you want to call us, in a 1.5-day session focused on helping us look at ways to better serve our members. So if you're looking for a way to get your mind to start thinking outside the box, I would encourage you to attend a strategic planning session. It's a process filled with new possibilities and opportunities that can help turn your thinking inside out and upside down, and it sure did that for me. We began the evening learning that a working definition of strategy is an organized response to the environment based upon a particular set of goals that seeks optimal benefits to the organization's members by building on strengths and/or building up weaknesses. As members, we all know that the League has so many wonderful strengths, and so we are looking for new ways to keep building on those strengths, while at the same time identifying any weaknesses that may be undermining our goals. So Donna divided us into small groups, and we were asked to list the key drivers of change in today's world, which include the conditions, trends, and assumptions that can make our organizations tomorrow very different looking than it is today. Some of the things that we talked about were the decrease in membership, our aging population, the perception of the League, women working outside the home, and we looked at current trends such as technology, our secular society, demographics, competition for time, etc. Does it sound like something we did yesterday at the town hall meeting? Exactly. Only we did it for way longer than half an hour. And I know that you are all familiar with working in a room filled with women and one bishop. We all have strong opinions, right? And quite often they are all very different. So you can imagine the importance of having Donna there to help bring us back to focus. We continued to discuss key drivers of change and then looked at core ideology, which clarifies what doesn't change for an organization in an environment of rapid and unpredictable change. So we discussed 3 components of core ideology. The first, the League's core purpose, which is our reason for being. Think about that for a minute. Do you know why we exist? You should be able to come up with that right away almost. Secondly, we looked at our mission. Who are we? What do we do? And how do we do it? This included looking at the language of our mission statement. Is it relevant today? Thirdly, we looked at our core values, which are the essential and enduring tenets of our organization, our guiding principles. What are the things about the League that will never change because they are so deeply regarded as important to us? Have you thought about what those could be? But be not afraid, ladies. We could all agree that our spiritual growth and service to others remain paramount in our mission. So now it's 9 p.m. at night, our minds are like mush, and it's time to stop for the day. Friday morning began with looking at an envisioned future. We were asked to look 10 years ahead to 2027 and imagine that the Catholic Women's League was to receive an award for their collective contribution. What would that award look like? So have you ever thought what the League's going to look like in 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And how has the League changed in the last 10 or 20 years? These are questions that we should all be asking ourselves, not just this committee. Each one of us needs to be a part of this conversation. Many of our groups were very imaginative, and there were suggestions ranging from a Nobel Peace Prize to dreamlike increases in membership. After lunch, it was time to draft our goals, which were derived from our award suggestions. So we were divided into 3 new groups based on the League, advocacy, and justice. and each group was asked to create one goal statement. Each group reviewed the other's work and made contributions and/or suggestions to improve or change the statement. Imagine trying to put everything we want to achieve as an organization into 3 simple statements. It was a very challenging task. Next, we were asked to list all of the possible barriers that could prevent us from reaching these goals. What steps would be necessary to help us maneuver through these barriers to reach success? What would need to be redesigned, refined, revised, developed, implemented, created, studied, established, increased, or decreased? Do you get the picture? It was hard work. There are so many questions to be asked and so many opportunities to be explored. The process is just beginning. Our day ended with probably more unanswered questions than answered questions, but we all left with a sense of great things to come. Planning strategically is a long and complicated process. It will entail further involvement from all members, input from yesterday's town hall meeting, more conversations and discussion, and much research before any decisions are made. What will this change look like for the League? What will the League look like in 10 years from now? No one knows, but I believe that if we open our hearts and let the Holy Spirit inspire and guide us in His will for the League, we can be assured that we will continue to respond to God's call for the next 100 years. Thank you.
Ingrid and I today are going to be giving you a little bit of the results from the town hall. The idea of the town hall stemmed from discussions about how to engage members and to consult with them about the future of the League. The idea started really small at first, and it started to grow as the steering committee got more excited and more creative. We wanted your input. We know we need your input, and we were trying to figure out a way to be able to do that, not only with the people in this hall, but the people across Canada who wanted to offer input. We wanted to ask you questions. We wanted to listen to you. We wanted to listen with open minds, open ears, and open hearts to hear what you had to say. A small team's been working in the background this past week while we've all been in session. It's been Donna Dunn, who's been putting together the questions for you, and she spent most of yesterday helping to analyze the results. Ingrid Lafort, who's down here, who has been assisting Donna Dunn with the presentation and all of our the technical aspects of the presentation. Ingrid also helped with analyzing the results yesterday while we were in session. And Pauline Krupa has been our main contact for our people from away, our town hall guests who couldn't possibly be here today. She had their email addresses, and they would bounce a question to her, and she would bounce a question back. So we were always getting feedback and able to help them along. So we had their needs all covered as well. We're thrilled with how you embraced the opportunity yesterday. The conversations looked so engaged, and everybody looked so interactive, and the discussions were absolutely lively. I want to report to you that we had 170 people, groups connected, 73 of them from out of this room. So in 73 parts of the country, women were gathered to participate. And that's almost half the responses, which is really incredible. And just a fantastic new way to be able to reach people and allow them to interact with us, even though they can't be here. I'm really excited to share some of the results with you. But first I wanted to ask Ingrid, should we find out if they were excited as we believe they are?
Yes, I believe we should. Can everyone hear me all right? Good. Okay, I'm just going to start with a warm-up question, Kim, if you don't mind. So I want to make sure everyone is participating. This will be interactive. I may end up near your table, and you may have to say something. So let's begin let's do a little honesty test. Who went to bed after midnight yesterday? Raise your hand. Okay, good. All right, you can put your hands down. And now, who woke up before 6 a.m. this morning? Raise your hand. Wonderful. Okay, so we have a very diverse group. That's great. And a very honest group. So here's the first question. What did you think of yesterday's session, the town hall session? So, good. So I heard someone say awesome. So raise your hand if you thought it was awesome. You don't have to. It depends on each person. Okay, put your hands down. Raise your hand if you were energized. Okay, not so many, a few. All right. Raise your hand if you felt like you had a voice, because some of you are not voting delegates. So raise your hand if you felt like you had a voice. Yeah, it goes all the way back to the very end of the room. Wonderful. Now, raise your hand if you said something or thought something and looked up on the screen and saw what you were thinking. Wonderful, because we heard that even from people not in this room, so I think that's great. Now, we're going to have something come up on the screen, I believe, to show us what we were most proud of.
Just before we do
sorry,
that,
it came up.
perhaps we can, we'll share some of the comments, because Pauline has already got comments back from the people from away. So we've asked you for, how you felt about the session. These are some of the comments that we got through Pauline. The people that are away who've been able to participate said very exciting, great questions. We heard someone said, fantastic, welcome to the 21st century. And we said, we made history today, and we're so happy to be part of the experience. It was a great session that seemed to fly by because it was so very interesting. They loved Donna, the presenter, and they especially liked that they could view the responses of everybody as we were going along.
So thank you, Kim. We're going to look now at what we were most proud of. So some words might not be there that were there before because we compiled, analyzed, and regrouped. So as you look at them, I do want to read some out to you, but I also want to ask a few tables, what's the first thing you saw? What stands out? I'm hearing charity, social justice. What about at this table? Belonging. I'm glad you mentioned belonging. I remember on Monday night, can you raise your hand if you were there Monday night for the entertainment? There was this wonderful song about Canada, and didn't it say, where you belong? And I hope everyone here, even the staff and the AV and everyone who's in this room feels they belong. So can someone here share any word that stands out to you? It doesn't matter if it's the same one we've already heard. Charity. Very good. Spirituality. Outreach. Okay, I'm sorry, as I drift away, I can't hear you as well, but I'm going to listen over here. Service. Community. Very good. And some are written small, but they're also there in big, so no need to worry. It's really just a first look at what's there. Just going to take a quick look and see. I don't know if anyone saw or read relationship. That's an important one. Mission. And I think we've covered many of them. Advocacy, and that'll be coming up again with resolutions this afternoon, of course. So now I want to share what I am most proud of. It's not up there because it's in this room and it's back home. Some people may still be watching us today that were with us. The moment I was most proud is when I saw everybody participate despite the newness of it, despite the fact that some table had 2 devices and some had 1. So I'm really proud of how we were able to get this information thanks to everyone's participation and for some, a leap of faith. So I think we need to applaud everyone here and everyone back home. So I think we're going to be ready to see what we need to stop.
What we need to stop. Wouldn't you agree that that was a fantastic foundation on which we could start to build? What Ingrid just showed us, fantastic material. If we go to, yeah, I know. And that's all your work. It's not our work. That's all your work. The second slide, please. Now, these are the things, we put it in a box, and it's very black. These are the things that you told us that you thought that we should stop doing. So we look at some of the big words like agendas, resistance, rigid, living in the past. Some of the smaller words, cliques, a little bit of negativity. There's some fundraising. You can see it's a wide variety of things that we've been asked. They're pretty ominous words, right? So let me ask you for just a simple show of hands. How many believe we're too rigid right now? That we could make some changes? No. What about resistance? Are we resistant to change? Would you say yes? Would you agree that with the summary that we do too much paperwork? That there's far too much paperwork? Okay. What about duplication? Yes. Do we live in the past? We do, don't we? And then there's some of the more sensitive comments. Do we know of any cliques that exist? Have we ever witnessed bullying among members? And are there pockets of negativity in the league right now? Yes. Yes, absolutely. One word I didn't mention when I was looking at the box was excuses. And I'm wondering, Ingrid, if you could tell us what the context of that word meant. She did all the analysis.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because what I was going to say is, how are we going to stop any of these things? And then, of course, I remember Mother Teresa saying, if you want the church to change, you have to start by changing yourself. So let's just talk about myself. I make excuses, possibly to people, but to myself all the time. And so when I read that, I thought, oh, was this written for me? And I thought, okay, I am going to stop. But then I thought to myself, am I really going to stop? So I'm not promising that I'm going to stop, but I'm promising to think about stopping making excuses. I don't know if that's enough, but that's where I can start. I don't know how many of you are ready to stop any of the things that you feel might apply to you. But if you are ready, I'm just going to count down 3, 2, 1. And those who feel ready, let's just say stop. I think it'll help us remember that I will try and stop making excuses. So 3, 2, 1. Stop.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So these are great things that the steering committee will take away, and we'll study them, and we'll try to study them from an optimistic point of view. So for example, if we're looking at rigidity, we'll want to turn that into how do we provide flexibility. So we're going to take all of these, and we're going to try and turn them around. But you don't have to wait for us to do this. While we're doing this in the background over the next year, trying to figure out how to address this, you can go home and deal with some of these things right now, right? Absolutely. There are things that you could begin now. You could start asking yourselves, how can we be more flexible? Perhaps how can we be more inclusive in your own councils? So please join us. You could join us now. We could start this cultural shift today.
Yes, and we are all in this together, definitely. So raise your hand if you feel ready now that we've seen what we're proud of, what we need to stop. And only raise your hand if you're really ready. But if you're ready to look at what the future, what you said, and what people back at home, very courageous people in British Columbia who woke up at who knows what hour. So if you feel ready to see that future, I'm going to wait until every hand is raised before we bring it up on the screen. We all need to be ready. I guess I should raise my hand.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's look at the next one. Sometimes the future takes a while. Wonderful. So the first thing I need to say, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but if you thought the future was bleak or dark, you are really, really, really in the minority. Hardly anybody feels that way. And we have the proof. So up there, you'll see. I think I'll go around to some tables on this side and see what stands out. Let's hear a couple of voices from, I don't know if this is east or west, from the water. So what do we see? Meeting. Okay, meeting, that's a classic. So I see meeting focused, but I see meeting too. What else do we see? Flexible. Mission. Oh, presence. I don't know who said that, but that's a really nice one. I like that one. Innovative. Relevance. Very good. What if we try reading 2 words together? I like doing that. That's kind of fun. So I'm just going to ask you to read 2 words back to back. Flexible structure. Let's applaud this guy. That's a good one. Okay. Let's come into the middle a bit. Let's see what you see. Let's go further back. Someone who doesn't have the right to vote. You guys have the right to vote here? Wonderful. So what do you see? Mission focused. That's a good one. Okay, and we'll come over here. You guys have the right to vote? Flexible presence. That's a fun one. I think we could think about that one for a while. I almost wish we could even have bilocation, but that's a really good one. Okay, so I think I'm going to head back over that way, so get ready. I see innovative. I see more, but more what? More community, more mission, more meeting? Maybe more meeting.
Do you know what I love, Ingrid?
More mission focused. Can we do 3 words together?
Ingrid,
you guys
how
are out of the box.
Needs and relevance.
Needs and relevance. Very good.
And relevance to community. We want to be relevant to our communities.
Oh, you just pointed out something wonderful. So let's go up above needs. Technology needs. So there might be needs we need to discover or we already know about. There's so many options out there. Okay, I'm coming this way. It doesn't matter if you have the right to vote. You can speak as well. So what do we see up on the screen? More connectivity. Great. Focused. Wonderful. More innovative. Productivity. Meeting productivity. I think we need to clap for that one. So I think I should go to the very back of the room. It's okay if there's a clerical presence. So what about over here? Who would like to speak? What do we see? Father, you seem to have been chosen. I'll bring it up closer. How's that? Anything. It can be a repetition.
More connectivity.
More connectivity. Very good. Very good. Okay, and then the very last table in this room. Hope you're ready. I don't know if you see well, but what do you see? Doesn't matter if it's been said before. Innovative. Efficient and innovative. Very good. Did anyone else want to add one? Flexible presence. Great. So you can see our future is not eroding by the minute. It is being shaped by the sea, isn't it? Now, Kim, I don't know if you wanted to add something before I say a last few words.
I just wanted to see if, you know what I heard when I heard from Roxanne's report, and I hear from this table that the things that the steering committee and the national executive were thinking and working on is not unlike what our members believe, right? So I think that we're all in unity, we're all in agreement at all of our levels that this is something that needs to be done. And I think we intuitively already know what our challenges are, what our opportunities are, and what our future might entail. So we're hoping that we'll all be able to work together over this next year and make this a reality.
And I guess in closing, I just want to say that the future, as we can see, it began yesterday and even before. So it's now, we're part of it. It's not only in 10 years from now. It's today, it's tomorrow. And so my last question for you is, who's ready? I think we can applaud everyone for being ready.
My story begins long before we had a council in our parish. The Catholic Women's League of Canada was taboo because our pastor strongly opposed paying a per capita fee to any organization outside the parish. We had a vibrant Rosary Society and an Altar Society. Added to those was a hardworking group of women who managed all the fundraising in the parish under the pastor's direction. Shortly after his death, our new pastor insisted that we had to have a CWL, no ifs, ands, or buts. And yes, it took a pastor dying for us to even begin considering a CWL. Step one was having the diocesan spiritual advisor speak at every Mass to entice women to consider the League. Over the next months, the decision was made that we would form a council. My reason for joining had nothing to do with what I knew about the CWL because I knew nothing. Rather, it had to do with it was just the right thing to do. I can recall the first time I was asked to chair the meeting because as charter president-elect, I was in the learning stage. I did not even know that I should have an agenda. I didn't even know what conveners were. Yikes. Wondering why I stayed? Having to host the diocesan convention only 5 years later was probably the catalyst that sparked a huge learning curve. The love of organizing things had me hooked. Moving to the diocesan executive was the next big step. After 2 terms on the council, I decided not to let my name stand because my experience with some of the executive was not pleasant. But the Lord had other plans. After saying no 8 times, I finally agreed to be the diocesan president. While I was co-chairing the provincial convention being held in Thunder Bay, I can recall saying that I would do the presidency if I did not have to speak at the convention. The provincial president assured me that I would not have to speak. She lied. Many of you may not believe this, but I was so nervous that my knees knocked louder than my voice when I presented my very first oral report. She tells me now that the diocese was so desperate that they would have promised anything to get somebody to take the position. Had I only known. Skipping ahead in my journey in CWL has been amazing. Each and every time I'm given a task, I aim to give my all to do my best. When did I get passionate about the League? Sherry, you're going to love this. When I was asked to be Provincial Resolutions Standing Committee Chairperson. I can honestly say that I disliked resolutions more than anything else, and I probably would have slept on a bed of nails to avoid it. But did I mention the Lord and his plans? During my first government visit, I noticed that one of the ministers we met was actually nervous. I realized in that moment that the CWL is a force to be reckoned with. In that 2 years, I grew to love the League and all that we are as women, rooted in gospel values. We live our baptismal call. We are not volunteers. We are women of service. My involvement in the League has brought me to places far beyond what I could have ever imagined I would accomplish in my life. The best part? I have learned to let go and let God. There's no doubt the League has molded me into the woman standing before you at this very moment, and my knees are hardly knocking. At the National Convention last August, Father Mallon set the stage for what has been the beginning of a conversation for change. He asked those present 3 questions, and he gave 3 observations, and I quote, Question 1, as CWL, what do you celebrate most? Question 2, as CWL, can you reinforce your stance of engagement to the world? Question 3, as you seek to fulfill your mission outlined in your mission statement, are you more committed to mission or methodology? That is, how do you do things? What are your structures? How are these applied to evangelization? Do we cling to how we do things rather than why we do things? Observation 1, to survive, parishes must undergo fundamental transformation from maintenance to mission. Observation 2, parish-based CWL councils will have to show flexibility. Observation 3, CWL members will tip the balance in determining whether parishes will be maintenance, which is decline, or mission, which is a growth mode. End of quote. We have received our marching papers to go out and change, engage, seek the lost sheep, and then throw the best party ever to embrace change. We, the CWL, are mission on this earth. Are you ready to bring this conversation to life? I can hardly wait to roll up my sleeves and be a part of this change. Thank you.
Now that's a hard act to follow. I would like to say, first of all, that I am the real Danielle McNeil Hession. And I would like to ask the real Agnes Bedard to please stand up. What attracted me to the League, actually, I can honestly say that nothing attracted me to the League. My journey began in 1983. There was no council in my parish of St. Ignatius in Bedford, Nova Scotia, and to be honest, I knew nothing about the Catholic Women's League. There was a women's group to which I did not belong. At the time, I had 4 children, was a recent university graduate with a Bachelor of Education, looking for a position and substituting. It would be 4 more years before I secured a full-time position. In the parish, I was a reader in the choir, minister of the Eucharist, taught Sunday school. Like many of you, I joined the League not because I needed something else to do in my life, but to serve the Lord and my parish. My parish priest, Father Gregory Heenan, was a spiritual advisor of the Halifax Diocesan Council. And of course, he wanted to start a Catholic Women's League in his own council, his own parish. It didn't look too good if his parish did not have a council. On the night of the organization meeting with the leaders from the diocese, where they were informing the women all about the Catholic Women's League of Canada and why we should join, I was at my father-in-law's wake and could not attend the meeting. I had expressed an interest in joining the group to my friend Florence, and wouldn't you know it, I was elected, or should I say, appointed by the process of elimination, the charter president of St. Ignatius Council. That was my first step on what was to become my League journey. One thing to be grateful for is that being the first at anything You are not the only one who doesn't know what you are doing. No one says that is not how we do it here, or we have done that before. A full slate of officers was elected that night, and we got busy. We did everything we could for the parish and God and Canada by following the policy and procedures and fulfilling the mandates given to the conveners. That would become impossible over the years to an ongoing membership and a lack of women to take on roles. At the time, it seemed that in the diocese and in the province, our leaders had a major interest in resolutions. In the parish, our resolutions convener worked on a resolution for the use of plain language. It passed the diocesan and provincial level and went on to national and was returned. It was returned to us for more research and improvement. Eventually, it was adopted by the National Council. Our little council of St. Ignatius finally had gotten something through. Thus began my love of resolutions. There was something very powerful about belonging to the largest organized women's group in the country, exploring social justice issues and knowing that our leaders had an audience with government. Social justice through resolutions and action became my passion. During the time, I then went on to the diocese and to the provincial council, where I was gifted with life membership. I served on the national executive for 12 years. During that time, I chaired the National Convention in Halifax in 2006, and last year, 2016, chaired the 96th Annual Convention, again in Halifax. What a ride. At each level, I had the opportunity to travel to all parts of the diocese, the province, the country, and internationally. Opportunities to break bread with committed, faith-filled women, to grow in faith through the example of my sisters I met on the road. Prayer services prepared by creative thinkers such as Betty Ann Brown Davidson, Margaret Ann Jacobs, and Jacqueline Noget, that I have been able to take part in, and many inspiring speakers such as Ken Yasiski have all contributed to my growth as a Catholic woman, a woman of faith. My road was filled with stumbling blocks, but there was always someone to provide a stepping stone. At times, it was not a sister, but a spiritual advisor lending a hand and leading by example. Who wouldn't be passionate about an organization that provided such opportunities? Every league member has a story, and times when their light grew brighter or was extinguished. During my journey at every level, I became more enthusiastic about the League, received more than I gave. Each act of service, whether at the parish, diocese, province, or national level, brought with it a new challenge and a sense of gratitude for the gift of the League. We continue to have difficulty filling leadership roles. Leaders at the parish, diocesan, and provincial levels, women are reluctant to take on a leadership role for a variety of reasons, such as they don't know enough about the League, too busy, too much work, and other time constraints. This is not a new problem. The Vision Committee in 2000 and Manifest in 2008, member surveys all pointed to the reasons we needed to change. And for a variety of reasons, very little has changed to address our needs. My hope for the future, over the past few days, our speakers and our opportunity to dialogue through the town hall session all point once again to our need to change if we are to continue to be a relevant, viable organization that is able to attract new members. It is my hope that the process of planning strategically that began with the National Executive, and by listening to the Holy Spirit working within us, that our organization can embark on a new journey to create a new future for the League. We heard from our speaker that information is useless unless it leads to transformation. We have gathered a lot of information. What will we do with it? That's the question. How will we be transformed? Of course, I would like to see the League a vibrant, respected organization well into the future. If only we could see a preview of the League in the future. Unfortunately, there is no movie to show us what the future will bring. We are at the beginning of the movie. These few days, there is an opportunity to step out of the box, to create something new while respecting our history. At the risk of stating the obvious, declining church attendance, declining membership, lack of women willing to take on leadership roles, memberships, demands on women's time, and many choices available for women to give of their time impact on our membership. As an organization, we are being forced to recognize that things need to change if we wish to continue as an organization that is relevant and able to respond to the needs of a changing society. I came across a quote that spoke to me. If you don't like change, you will like irrelevance even less. We believe there is a need for the Catholic Women's League in church and society. As an almost 100-year-old organization, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and we do not want to be the generation that causes the foundation to crumble, or to drop the ball as the League becomes irrelevant in our church, society, and the world. Think of how long it would have taken to get a message out 100, 70, 50, and even 25 years ago. Today, we can get a membership in minutes. How long it took to travel by train 100 years ago. Today, if we are not on board, the plane will be leaving without us. Change is inevitable, and we will be challenged to let go of our old ways and to chart a new course. I hope to see the League in the future consist of members representing the diversity within the church, women of all ages who are energized, rejuvenated, and inspired to make a difference within their parish, community, country, and the world. John F. Kennedy said, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future." The League cannot afford members and leaders who are willing to miss the future. A number of years ago, Father Gary McPherson from the Diocese of Antigonish, while speaking to a group of CWL women on their work within the League, said, "For God's sake and the sake of the CWL, get going." And yesterday, Reginald Bibby updated the language, but he actually said the same thing. You have much to bring, so bring it. It is my hope that we listen to the message and create the change to lead us into the next 100 years of League members being the change they want to see in the world.
So we're living in exciting times. You've heard about how we got started. You've heard where we are at this point. And my role is to explain to you with a few slides where we're going in the next year. The process is ambitious, but we are hopeful that we are going to be successful. Fall of 2017. Have the steering committee members attend in person fall provincial executive meetings in order to present the current situation analysis, which will include the annual report and findings from the engagement from yesterday's town hall session. Each executive will be presented with material that is consistent from province to province. Engage the members of the provincial executives in identifying 3 to 4 key and critical issues for the League. And 3, compile the results from the provincial executive meetings. Steering committee teleconference for the purpose of selecting one person from each provincial executive to liaise with steering committee who will lead and promote planning initiatives at the provincial level. Next, the steering committee will meet in advance of the national executive meeting in the fall to finalize the critical issues document determined by the provinces in preparation for the national executive discussion. Present the key and critical issues to the national executive at its fall meeting. and develop a vision for the League using the critical issues approach. December 2017 to January 2018. We're going to develop a first draft of the strategic plan using all the information from provincial input. February 2018, we will present the plan to the National Executive for input and revise as required. April to June next year. Present the second draft of the plan at the diocesan or the provincial, where applicable, pre-convention meetings or conventions, and allow for input. Teleconference to discuss engaging one member from each diocesan executive, where applicable, who will be the liaison with the steering committee and who will lead and promote the planning initiatives at the provincial level. August 2018. Present the final draft of the strategic plan to the National Executive at its pre-convention meeting for approval. Secondly, present recommendations to the National Executive as to plan implementations, including a terms of reference for an implementation committee that will include timelines and committee composition, including task forces to address each critical issue. Present a recommendation as to the process for monitoring, evaluating, and updating the plan at intervals to be determined by the steering task force. Make a final formal presentation of the approved plan to the delegates of the 98th Annual National Convention. And that's it, ladies. The actual strategic plan is expected to cover a period of a minimum of 5 years. So the train has left the station, and I hope we're all going to be on it. Thank you.
Our break is scheduled for 10:15 to 10:30. I think what we'll do is maybe entertain any comments or questions. You can offer questions, but clearly we're not going to have answers for right here, but we would really like to make sure that we note them so that they can be addressed by our committee. So if you have comments, microphone 1, 2, 3, and then how be we say that we will break at 5 after 10, and then you can have like 25 minutes until we'll come back at 10:30, so that I know there's some announcements with regard to next door. They're really anxious. So microphone 2, and we want to make sure we record these. Go ahead.
You don't need to record this part, but I just want to say wow and thank you to all of you for your presentation this morning.
Microphone 1.
Teresa Winchester, Life Member. I also say wow, but in my heart, I have some reservations, and I have to say them out loud, because if I do, other people do. I embrace change. My whole life says that. But I get this baby in bathwater feeling that I'm not sure about, and I've talked to some other people, and there is a concern about it as well. I have a very dear friend in the League whose name is Elaine Black, and she told me one time that because of the League, she's learned how to chair meetings properly, she's learned how to do reports, she's learned how to research and so on. And I don't want us to lose that training, because, as she said, she took it to the parish council, she took it to school councils, she learned in the League so much about Robert's Rules of Orders that apply everywhere. I don't know how this will come together. I'm trusting in great wisdom, because I see it up there, and I'm pretty much in awe of the people that are on the committee. But I just want to say that, proceed with caution. We can't lose that for our members, because it's one of the valued things about the League is that we learn so much from it, that usually in a friendly environment where you wouldn't want to do it maybe at the school council the same way you're able to do it in the CWL. Just proceed with caution. Remember, there's baby in bathwater, and sometimes they look the same. Is that true? I don't know.
Thank you, Teresa.
Okay.
Can I just would you raise your hand if you believe that you've learned how to do something in a professional nature that she's talking about, that you learned it in the League? So there's nobody even considering throwing out the baby. I I want to reassure you. Microphone 2, and then we'll go back to 1 again.
Kathy McKinney, accredited delegate from Ontario. I just hope that this presentation is made available on the national website so we can access the slides that were presented to us.
Thank you. Good point. Duly noted. Microphone 1.
That was my question.
Same question. Oh, I'm sorry. Microphone 3, and then we'll come back to 2.
I'm the short person. My name's Janet Terrio. I'm from St. Vincent de Paul Parish in Cole Harbour, or Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Janet, we are so thrilled that you are back here. Thank you for being with us.
I guess I don't need to explain why I wasn't here yesterday.
No.
So when we were looking at the words relevance and mission and all that, there was a word up there that I didn't see that I would have put up if I had been here yesterday, and that was empathy. Putting ourselves in other people's shoes. We each have our own experience, right? I grew up in New Brunswick. I see things from a New Brunswick sort of attitude. I have a different attitude towards Francophone people than perhaps they do in Quebec, than perhaps they do in places where there are no Francophone people. And I know how difficult it is for a person to appreciate a culture in which they don't have roots, they don't have knowledge of it. And I think, and I have heard from many people in many different walks of life remarks that tell me that they don't understand how somebody else feels, how Indigenous people feel, how Black people feel, because it is not part of their nature, it's not part of their history, it's not part of their culture. So I think that empathy, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, is a very important, should have been up there on that list with needs and mission and community and relevance and all that. And maybe empathy is all part of all those things. But I wanted to say that to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Here, here first, and then we'll go back to 1. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
I have a question, actually. I'm just wondering if you're going to build an evaluation into the strategic plan before you do any part of the implementation, because that is a big role of the whole outcome is to do the evaluation before, and I'm just wondering if you have plans for that.
I don't think we need to wait to the end to answer that, because that has been part of an issue with the 2000 document, the 2007 document, and what we're doing now. How do we evaluate the progress that we've made so that we can take a look at what we've done to know that we have to change? Yes, evaluation certainly will be part of it.
Thank you.
What did I say before? Here, and then back to 1.
Okay.
3.
Glenda Carson, Nova Scotia Provincial Council. I love when Anne was outlining, Anne-Marie's outlining kind of the process and bringing in the feedback through the connections through diocesan. I'm very much a grassroots kind of person as well, and that's what's coming through strongly. One thought where some of our minds went to at the table was there's a whole core of Catholic women out there who could be made very curious by this process. Is it possible, is it looking like it's cricket for me in my parish, in my diocese, to say to women who aren't CWL members, look what we're doing. Can we share some of this process, open it up in our parishes to have a mini gathering to talk about where we're going?
Please do. You don't have to be a Catholic to belong to the Catholic Women's League. As a matter of fact, the first draft of the brochure for the town hall, I sent it to be edited. We were asking for opinions, and I said, it's saying spiritual advisors and members, and I said, we want everyone that has a voice that could be part of that process. We want their opinion. So they were invited. Anytime I gave a presentation, I said we would like even non-members or people that have not rejoined to join that conversation. So I would think yes.
That's great. Maybe we'll do some visioning in our little place.
Networking. Yes, number one, please.
Annette Chaplin, Deep River, Ontario member. 2 years ago, I became a member. 1 year ago, I was thrust into presidency, sort of by, like, who else? And I'm overwhelmed by that alone, but also by a parish council whose focus has been on fundraising with a little bit of spiritual development, and that's it, and that's how we've always done it, and these are the events that we will have this year. We won't have any other events. We will have these events. They will be on these dates. They will not change. That's one thing. How do I take that and put this into it? Are you going to provide some instructions, please?
Hope. That is our hope. That is our plan for the future. Number two, number three, and then number one.
Anna Maria Matsui, St. Thomas More Parish, Calgary, Alberta. I've been involved in telecommunications and in the technology industry for over 40 years. And I have to say that yesterday, witnessing the town hall meeting going as smoothly as it did, a big thank you, and from a person that knows that I have never seen anything run so smoothly. So thank you.
Thank you. Number three.
Ellen Robart, President of St. Mark's Council in Quispamsis, New Brunswick. And I do want to commend you. It's my first national. I'm very pleased. I'm really energized by all of the great energy in this room. I am reminded, however, the prophet Micah, who, when the people of God said, what does he want? Where are we going? He kept the message very simple. And that was a message of to act justly, love tenderly, and serve one another, and be humble. I was a little overwhelmed. It's quite undaunting. I believe that it's certainly doable, but the word I want to insert here is simplicity. To keep it simple and to not to make it too overbearing, because that's not the message that God has for us. He's not overbearing us, and I do commend you, and we are a strong voice, and I can really feel it in this convention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One.
Lucy Hendricks, life member in the London Diocese. There's a lot of young ladies who are at the working age, and so therefore were not able to participate in yesterday's town hall. They're not often able to participate in our conventions. So many of our things are done during working hours, and they're not able to give up working hours in order to participate. So if somebody really wanted to have input, can they still have an email or something that they could still add their comments to? Because the whole town hall thing had been to get together in groups of 4 or 5, and you can't do that necessarily in the workplace.
We've got an answer.
That one's a pretty easy answer. This device that we have, the town hall sessions that we ran it on, is open for us for the next 30 days. We've added a new category called follow-up questions, so we're documenting your questions on here. Please feel free to visit the site and let us know which ones are more popular and add the ones that you're interested in.
Can we put the link on the national info CWL thing so that I could say to anybody who wanted to comment, click on there?
Absolutely will do that, yes.
Thank you. Number two.
Judy Look, Alberta Mackenzie, President-elect. We're curious about the fall meeting when you're going to come and visit. Will there be a consistent message to all the provincial groups, dioceses, provincial councils, in terms of like a PowerPoint and stuff that we will then be able to use with our other councils and our diocesan councils?
Absolutely, there will be a consistent message. So there's still the rest of August so that the rest of you can go on holiday. We'll be very busy because the first provincial meetings started the first week in September.
And
So yes, it will be a consistent message. I'm sure we'll find some way to get the technology available because you need to have that to take forward. And yes, the intention is that it's going to go to all levels.
Okay, and we from Alberta are exceptionally excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And microphone 3. And then maybe 2 more, Agnes and then the bishop, and can we then call a break? Are we okay with that? Okay. Yes.
My name is Maria Odumodu I'm a life member from London Diocese. I've been coming to convention because I come to be spiritually revived, recharged, to carry on the work I do. I was never invited to be a member. I stepped forward and said, I want to be a member. Nobody invited me because it's not for me to say the reasons, but I was not invited. But I've been a member since 1973, and I have no regret for being a member. I've met wonderful people, I've learned things, and I'm moving on. I just want to make some comments. Yesterday, we had 2 presentations. They were excellent. Dr. Bibi told us about the growth of the country as a whole, because our population is not growing, but is growing by immigrants. My request is that this is a group that started because of looking after immigrants. When did the word immigration become so negative? When did that word become negative? Because when you talk about immigration, it's all about refugees, it's all about people like me, and we are taking, at least he said, we are taking, we never give. So we need to change our attitude, because unless you are from the First Nations, you are an immigrant to Canada. Our room, if you look at the room now, is not diverse. It doesn't represent the population. It doesn't represent the populations that go to our churches. Because I have traveled in many parts of Canada, Ontario, and I see in many churches people from different groups, but they are never welcomed. I have to say that word because I do my own research, okay, to find out, why are you ladies not coming? They say to me, Maria, well, you can go because you never seem to be shy. I said, there's no reason to be shy. Come. The work of God is for all of us. He said, but when you get to the meeting, the presidents never welcome us. They might acknowledge everybody except us. So,
Thank you, Maria. Finish?
So that's all I want to say. But thank you to the executive for the work you do. And to say fast, let's not have an attitude of them and us between the executive and the rest of us. We need to buy into whatever you're doing so that we know that the change means all of us are responsible for the change. It's not just you, it's all of us if it's to succeed. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Maria. Agnes and then the bishop, please.
As I get older, I forget. And I wish I had written everything down I want to say. First of all, thank you very much. This has really been stimulating. I can hardly wait to get back and talk about it to other people. One of the things that hasn't been mentioned is that a lot of us in here don't come from huge councils. We come from councils that, although of a different size and shape, have survived for many, many years. There's a council from Northern Alberta where Doreen Leckie, who designed the flag, has been a member for probably all of her life. Her council has gone probably from 5 to 8. I think it's been in 9 now. And it's just keep going. Now, those numbers don't show up on the statistics, but that's what we have to have. We have to have councils that sustain themselves and somehow grow over the years, even though there's nobody, I don't know where they get the people, because the only people in there are dead people, right? Okay. But I think we have to address the fact that many councils exist outside the structure. We call ourselves CWL councils, but we don't have to have. We have a president maybe, or we have a group that act as president. I think those kind of things have to be options, because we can't, in most of our councils, we can't ever fill all of the standing chairs. We can't. We can't have even a vice president, you know? So we have to have, there has to be kind of a structure that we can follow if we can't find all those people. So that's okay then to share the presidency. It's okay just to come together in prayer, but still as a CWL group. So I think that's what I want to say, because it's not necessary to have the structure.
It's okay. Bishop?
My name is Christian Lépine, Archbishop of Montreal. I'm here as a friend, as a brother. It's my third national convention. Just want to share a few reflections about strategic planning, starting with my own experience in my diocese. There are three possibilities. My plan be done. My plan be done with the help of God. Your plan be done. And for me, as an archbishop in the diocese, I'll always have this preoccupation. How do I get to the point where it won't be my plan or our plan be done with the help of God, but it will be your plan, God, your plan be done. For me, that's a challenge. And one of the, what I see, and I love you for it, is that faith is very present in everything that you do. Faith can be something we have for a moment, and the rest of the week we do other things. But you have faith not only in a moment, but it fills all through your life. And so one way, I think, to stay focused on your plan be done, God, is to say it explicitly. Say Jesus Christ in your plan. You already have Holy Spirit. Say Jesus Christ in your plan. Say your church in your plan. Explicitly, it's present, it's there, I see it. But sometimes when we ask other specialist firms, companies to help us in strategic planning, it's not their strength. So our values, our core values can be like they're there, but they under, let's say, under the carpet, something. So just a reflection, a way how to get to your plan be done.
Thank you, Bishop. Elaine has some announcements, and then we will break, and we will reconvene at 10:30 sharp, please. But Elaine for announcements.
Firstly, let her offer our prayers for Loretta Jane Bolin, who passed away yesterday, a member of the Peter